Hey, what's going on everybody? My name is Jay and welcome to the Shiplife. So for today's cruise news, what is arguably one of the biggest questions being asked when it comes to cruising is when is vaccine mandates going to end for passengers that wish to sail on cruise ships? Well, I recently stumbled upon an article that does talk about this topic. I will go over the details and more in today's video. In a potentially controversial move, one of the largest cruise lines in the entire world, Royal Caribbean, is bringing back self-serve buffets. This is something that a lot of people have been worried about, some people are happy about, and I'm going to talk about my perspective as I have recently been on a Royal Caribbean ship and I have another sailing on a Royal Caribbean ship next week. Also, there was recently another medical emergency on the Carnival Valor. This will make the third medical emergency between two different cruise lines in the past week. Let's go! So before we dive into today's cruise news, I do have to remind all of you that I am doing a live stream with a Royal Caribbean crew member and a content creator here on YouTube, Chris Wong. He is currently on Ovation of the Seas, he was on Odyssey of the Seas, and him and I are going to be talking about things today that you as a passenger or even a crew member have never even heard about. I think it's going to be pretty good, so make sure you guys tune in at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, let's talk about what's going on with the potential ending of vaccine mandates. Just looking at everything objectively and as a whole, the reality is that cruising is returning to normal. We have multiple ships like the Carnival Mardi Gras and some of the biggest ships on the entire planet that is now sailing at 100% occupancy, meaning they are not limiting to maybe 40%, 50%. As many people that want to sail on that cruise ship can now sail on that cruise ship. They have the approval by the CDC, the ports of call are cool with it, and obviously it is good overall for the industry. Now, as it stands right now, we do know that vaccine requirements are still in place. But just looking at the entire spectrum of things, of course, when it comes to things like masking, as of right now, on most cruise ships, they are optional. Unless, of course, when you take a look at everything that happened recently with a couple princess ships. But the fact of the matter is, masks are something optional and people have been wearing them. I have been on a couple cruises. I have a couple more cruises later this month, and I'm assuming there are going to be a couple people on board that are wearing masks, and nobody should judge because at the end of the day, we are dealing with a pandemic still, and even though it is somewhat, as many will put it, as the endemic, there are people that are still naturally cautious and a little afraid from the things that we've experienced over the past 2 years. Now, also, just looking at things from a crew perspective, the crew members are tested weekly. They're all vaccinated. On a lot of ships, they are also boosted as well. Crew members on some ships, like for example, Royal Caribbean, at this point, or at least up until this week, were not even allowed to get shore leave. That is when a crew member is allowed to get off the ship in a port of call or an island, one of the cruise ship destinations that they visit. As of right now, Royal Caribbean has come out and announced that they're going to allow up to 150 crew members per port of call over in those areas, and some of them may even have to do bubble excursions. But if you look at NCL, Carnival, and other cruise lines out there, the crew members in most ports, especially over in the Caribbean and some home ports like New York City and Miami, they are allowed to disembark the ship and go around and do whatever it is that they please. Now, to further the argument that cruising is indeed returning to normal, you guys have seen, if you've been on a cruise ship or if you've seen any of my vlogs, there are a lot of things that are returning, like the pre-pandemic games that involve possibly some physical contact. The buffets in some aspects, which I'll talk about in a minute, especially when it comes to Royal Caribbean, are starting to return to self-serve. Now, I was recently on a Royal Caribbean ship, Odyssey of the Seas, and as of right now, at least when I was on that ship a week ago, there were still crew members serving all the food. However, if you wanted drinks or certain snacks, you can go ahead and just grab it yourself, as opposed to the crew members doing everything. Now, when you look at the testing, anybody that is sailing on board a cruise ship that is 5 and up, they must test no earlier than 2 days prior to their particular sailing. When it comes to vaccines, 12 and up must be fully vaccinated in order to sail. Now, just looking at the possibility, because we do have to entertain it, the big possibility of vaccine mandates going away. I will talk about what's going on with the CDC and then, of course, other things that we have to take a look at. But factors you have to take into consideration when it comes to the removal of vaccine mandates on board cruise ships is that it's not just the cruise lines that are making this sole decision, because there are a lot of things involved, like, of course, passenger or customer perspective and appeal. There's the media involved. There are the ports of calls. If a cruise line, any cruise line, whether it be, let's say in particular, the big three, Carnival, NCL, and Royal Caribbean, if they were to, let's say, remove the vaccine mandate, any port of call, whether it be Nassau, St. Kitts, St. Thomas, you name it, they could say, whoa, we don't want you guys here because we don't know if everybody is vaccinated, or rather they don't know for a fact if everybody is vaccinated, and because the vaccine mandate has now been removed, they no longer want that ship to port over in that particular area, which obviously could cause a lot of problems and, of course, make the cruise lines lose a lot of money, upwards of millions of dollars. Now, there is the former Food and Drug Administration Commissioner, Scott Gottlieb. He kind of chimed in on this topic, not particularly with cruising, but as far as just vaccine mandates as a whole. He believes that, yes, of course, we are seeing a very significant slowdown in COVID cases, hospitalizations when it comes to COVID, but we, of course, have to be vigilant in seeing what's going on with Omicron or any other variant that could rear its ugly head when it comes to the pandemic, and we could end up potentially right back to where we started, which, fingers crossed, I hope not. I don't think anybody is wishing for that at this point. But just looking at Scott Gottlieb and what he is saying, he does believe that as far as recommendations and the vaccine mandate as a whole, they will stick around at least until fall. And then, of course, you know, you have the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, that, of course, is kind of regulating all of this, even though they're not in charge of the cruise lines anymore. Essentially, what's happening is they are keeping a watchful eye on things as far as vaccine mandates, things that they're doing with schools and, you know, government buildings, stuff of that nature. It is believed that around fall time, all this stuff will potentially expire in the event that there's no more outbreaks, there's no more strains running around, there's no more hospitalizations and deaths going up. There is the possibility that all this could sort of be relaxed around fall time. However, in my personal opinion, I believe that things could start to relax around fall, given, again, that everything is going according to plan. But as far as the cruise line, seeing is that they are in, of course, the public eye. And again, like I said, customer appeal, the ports, all those factors that are taken into the equation, we could see a potential change as far as the vaccine mandates on board cruise ships as early as the beginning of next year. Now, there are the two main factors that people have questions about. Of course, there is the testing and there is the vaccines. I believe that we're going to see one or the other go out first. It will probably be the vaccine mandates because, you know, people can be vaccinated, and we know this, science has proved this. People can be vaccinated and still test positive for COVID. So maybe they will alleviate and get rid of the vaccine mandate requirements altogether, and then they will keep the testings for a significant period of time. Who knows? Like I said, that could all be as early as fall, where they just start to resort to testing for a short period of time, and then once things calm down, then, you know, who knows? Maybe we'll be back to normal cruising before the pandemic. Either way, guys, of course, this is a very controversial, very interesting and sensitive topic for a lot of people. So I do, of course, want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Moving on, and another big topic, we got to talk about what's going on with Royal Caribbean, as they are now going back to self-serve buffets. Now, to be clear, I didn't see a determined date as to when this would be happening, but I'm assuming it could potentially be immediately. Like I said, I was just on Odyssey of the Seas, and other than drinks and snacks and stuff at like the Windjammer, it was still crew serving all of the food. Now, just looking at all this, I know this has been a controversial topic. Some people, for the overwhelming majority, prefer when the crew serve. However, there is a big problem, especially considering the environment that we're in right now with, of course, staffing shortages and stuff like that. Now, I don't say as a whole there is a giant staffing shortage among the crew, but you got to understand, on these major cruise lines and some of the largest ships in the world, these ships are technically already kind of understaffed, meaning the crew that are there are absolutely needed to fulfill all the roles and jobs, whether somebody is a maitre d', a room steward, the captain, you name it. So what I'm saying is, when you have all these roles that need to be filled for the overall guest experiences and for all the guest passengers on board to be happy and to, well, essentially run a tight ship, whenever you allocate a lot of crew members that, again, are doing multiple roles and having a role that they don't necessarily do, like serve all of you, the passengers, at the buffets, then, well, the actual quality of the cruise could potentially go down. And of course, it's not good for the overall morale of the crew members, and for them to have such a massive workload when, as most of you know, the crew members are working extremely hard, working anywhere from 12 to 14-day shifts anyway at work. Well, it does potentially cause a lot of problems. I do believe that is the main reason behind Royal Caribbean deciding to change up things a bit, as this is something they have mentioned on multiple occasions when it comes to the crew serving all of the food to all of the guests. But of course, like I said, I know this is an extremely controversial, very big topic, so I do want to hear all of your inputs. Let me know in the comment section below how you feel about all this. Will you still go to the buffets if it goes back to self-serve? Now, finally, as we sail into our last topic for today's video, of course, you guys should do me a favor and hit that like button. Goes a very long way with YouTube in support of my channel. We got to talk about some incidences that took place recently on board a couple different ships. Now, yesterday I did talk about a medical evacuation that took place on the Odyssey of the Seas with Royal Caribbean, the ship I just got off of this past weekend. Now, I'm going to show you a helicopter clip. Apparently, the helicopter during the medical evacuation made 3 attempts to land in order to rescue a man that was suffering heart attack-like symptoms. Unfortunately, it took a little while because there were high winds in the area as they were over in the Caribbean, and and well, eventually they end up getting the man off. I just promised I'd show you guys the clip that was available. Now, I do have the captain's announcement, but at this point, guys, I've already gone over the news. If you guys still want it, maybe I can post it tomorrow or something like that. But either way, you guys know the situation. Now, there was recently another situation on board the Carnival Valor that took place this past weekend on April 9th. That was when I actually got off of the Carnival, the Odyssey of the Seas, and that same day, Odyssey of the Seas also had an event took place where they had to go back to their home port over in Fort Lauderdale to evacuate a passenger that was having a heart attack. Now, in this particular situation, it was a 60-year-old passenger on board the Carnival Valor. The Carnival Valor is currently home ported and sailing out of Louisiana over in New Orleans, and well, they were 2 miles off the coast. A man had stroke-like symptoms, and they had to bring in the Coast Guard with a helicopter in order to get him off. Now, he was safely taken off of the ship, and they hoisted him up and put him on the helicopter and took him to a nearby hospital that was, again, 2 miles off the coast, and he is expected to survive and is in stable condition at this point in time. But either way, guys, that is our news for today's video. I have a lot more going on as far as news, and like I said, guys, we got the live stream going on today, and I got to finish packing and doing all this other stuff. I got a month of cruises, by the way, in case you guys didn't watch my video from yesterday. A lot of ships going on, and a lot of ships that I'm going on, rather, and it's going to be a great time. Also, guys, on your way out, of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on all the topics we talk about in today's video. I do want to also take some time quickly to thank all of you that has come and congratulated me and thanked me for reaching 100,000 subscribers and getting my silver play button. I think it fits there rather nicely. I love all of you. I know I say it all the time, and I really and genuinely, sincerely mean it. You guys have changed my life for the better. And all I got to say is there is a lot more coming, especially with our travel partners, my sponsor, Touring Plan. Shout out to them, by the way, if you want to check them out. Link in the description box below. And yeah, guys, that's all I got to say. I love all of you. I'll see you later. Take it easy.